All rise for the pledge. Oh, wait, no, sorry.
Reverend John.
Please
Here.
take the roll.
Ms. Collins.
Here.
Dr. Jacobowitz. Here. Ms. Jordan. Here. Mr. Lamb.
Here.
Ms. Lau.
Here.
Mr. Michael is absent. Mr. Chauncey.
Ms. Shear. Here. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of collective bargaining under the Taylor Law, ESP and ASPA. Matters leading to the employment of particular individual or individuals, including history of particular individual or individuals, or corporations, and to seek legal advice.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. We'll be adjourned to executive session until approximately 7 o'clock, as close to 7 as we can. I'm sorry. I thought maybe you were not there. It would be hard to hear, but that was too loud. Sorry. We have a resolution coming out of executive session. So those of you who are signing up, continue to do so. Resolution BOE 84, 2018, be it resolved in accordance with Section 3 of the employment agreement with the Assistant Superintendent. Michelle go green. Sorry, so you're able to hear us. I'll start again. Resolution 2018 BOE 84. Be resolved in accordance with Section 3 of the employment agreement with the Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Education that the Board of Education hereby extends the term of her employment agreement for 3 years through June 20th of 2022 and approves a salary of $159,150 for the Assistant Superintendent for Secondary Education effective July 1, 2019. And be it further resolved in accordance with Section 3 of the employment agreement with the Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education that the Board of Education hereby approves a salary of $164,250 for the Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Education effective July 1, 2019. And be it further resolved that in accordance with Section 3 of the employment agreement with the Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, that the Board of Education hereby approves a salary of $191,000 for the Deputy Superintendent for Teaching and Learning effective July 1, 2019. I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you very much. And we have reached the section of the meeting where we welcome public participation. I understand several people have signed up. I just want to call your attention to the fact that, thank you, the policy is fixed to the podium. We will not discuss specific personnel nor student discipline records, in addition to the other things, negotiations, etc., that are listed in the policy. You have 2 minutes. Our board clerk will let you know when you're approaching your 2 minutes. If you want to cede your time to the next speaker, you may. And this evening, we're going to begin with Patricia Broadhead. Good evening. Good evening. Thank you. She'll make sure that we all. Speak directly to the mic. Thank you.
I'm here today to address you about the share table at George Washington School. In 2015 when I started, and since then we've had a share table where children could come and if they get lunch and whatever they didn't want, they'd leave on the share table. We would refrigerate it, and then other children, once they've eaten their lunch, if they were still hungry, they could take from whatever we had. That has ceased. We got a letter from Ed Corelli the first part of May saying that we can no longer do the share table. He said that it was because of the Board of Health. I spoke with the Board of Health, the Health Department, I'm sorry. I spoke with the Health Department, and they said that it was not them, that it was the school district that basically instituted the policy. So I'm here today because we have children who eat their lunch and they're coming constantly saying, we're still hungry, do you have something for us to eat? And we can't hold anything now, so they don't have anything. I'm coming to ask you to look over my proposal, please, and reinstate the share policy in September. Thank you.
Okay, next person, Lucy Moyer.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Lisa Royer, and I'm a community organizer with Rise Up Kingston. I'm here to bring to your attention some concerns of multiple members of our community. Community members are concerned with the fact that the police in the schools are involved with discipline of our children while they're in your care. When it clearly states in number 1, letter N of the paper that I gave you, the current contract between the school district and the police department, that under no circumstances are school resource officers to be a school disciplinarian. It also states that the SROs will not be involved in the enforcement of disciplinary infractions that do not violate the law. And so the first question that our community would like clearly answered by the school board, either tonight or in another meeting, is are you willing to address the problem that we know continues to happen in our schools by the officers disciplining our kids, because our children don't need more discipline, they need more mentors. Another part of the contract that the community members are questioning is number 7 on the contract, where it states that the district has the right to request removal and replacement of the officers in our district. Mr. Pavolino, I have been in numerous meetings with you where you have told parents, including myself, that the school district couldn't remove officers unless the city found them guilty of something, and that's a lie. And so today I'm asking you, and our community is asking you, to consider removing any officer that breaks the contract with the district, including to, and not limited to, Officer Hobart, who assaulted my daughter, and Officer Waltman, who touched my daughter inappropriately and withheld her breathing apparatus while she was screaming that she couldn't breathe in a video, a Facebook video in November 2017 on Facebook Live, and it has 30,000
Jordan,
views.
I want to remind
Thank you.
you, yeah, you're talking about specific personnel.
I'm done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next person who's saying it is Beth. Kathleen?
Beth Capps.
Sorry.
Hi, my name is Beth Capps, and part of Rise Up Kingston. And our community members are outraged that the school district pays almost $400,000 a year for police to be in schools, adding to the national crisis of the school-to-prison pipeline. Now, special ed programs here in Kingston aren't providing adequate services to our children, so another question that the community has for all of you is, are you willing to look and adjust those numbers to better serve the children of Kingston? Today is June 19th. To me, this should be a day that we should all, as Americans, be celebrating the freedom of slavery, and we're not. The fact that there are police in schools with children is criminal. That's criminal. So I ask you to look at that and think why that there would be police in that school just to make the pipeline just that much quicker for them. So this should be a day that we're all celebrating, but it's not. So any free time I have, I get to the next person.
Eagle Bailey.
I'm here with Rise Up Kingston, and we're seeking truth, transparency, and understanding. We're demanding accountability on behalf of our children from the school district and police and town of Ulster Police who provide school resource officers. If we really want to see systemic abuse of our children and problematic behavior from our children decrease and let them be safe and protected without sending in wolves among lambs and sheep, we have to have accountability. We must make certain district rules and procedures are enforced. And we can start hiring more counselors and mediators, not more cops. We must stop letting might make right and stop ignoring or sanctioning disgusting, unlawful acts of bullying and abuse that harm our children in the place they should be safest and from those whose mandate is supposedly to protect and serve. Let's all of us actually review the contracts that so deeply and sometimes irrevocably affect our children's lives, health, and safety. Let's work together to meet and improve the standards set forth in the New York State enacted budget. Police and SROs are not legally endowed to act as disciplinarians or enforcers in schools when the law has not been broken. When there's a gross violation or a failure of that, such as failure to perform the set forth services in a satisfactory manner, failure to serve as an appropriate role model for the district students, and failure to follow district policies and procedures, when these failures occur, the district must follow its set rules and act to remove officers from a position in which they can and provably will abuse their power over the most vulnerable members of our society. The greater Kingston community has high stakes in the outcome that has followed letting state, county, and city-based paramilitary organizations have seen carte blanche in our schools. Letting said paramilitary officers bring a gun or a taser to a 7th grade fight in a schoolyard.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey.
Thank you.
Do you want to leave that? All right, thank you. Next up is Michelle Hirsch.
Good evening, Superintendent Paolino, members of the board. My name is Michelle Hirsch. I'm a resident of Kingston. I have 2 children in the district. I'm a member of the Special Education Parent Group, and I work in the community as a family care advocate and an educational advocate. I'm here in support tonight of Rise Up Kingston, and I'm here to speak about all the students. I'm here in support of all the students in our districts. Yes, our schools do have a growing population of students with high needs, behaviors, emotional problems, and various disabilities. And without appropriately trained staff and resources, we are setting up our students to fail. What I've seen in the last few years has been a slow emergency that is now turning into a critical situation needing immediate attention. We are spending $400,000 a year to employ 4 SROs, which is just about half of the district budget for social workers. But we need a new direction. Police in our schools are not the answer. With the amount of attention given to keeping at-risk students from dropping out or worse, being pushed into the school-to-prison pipeline, a growing body of neuroscientific research focuses on alternative approaches to behavior interventions and school discipline. Our students need a neuroscience model of support, like the Bloom Sanctuary model or the Sanchez Resiliency model. Schools that have used these models have seen decreases in the use of police and restraint with an increase in positive behavior. We need to decrease our spending on the use of SROs and increase our spending on social workers, in addition to hiring a board-certified behaviorist for each school building in the district. Thank you.
Claire Manchin. Thank you.
Dear Kingston School Board, I'm writing to show my immense enthusiasm for the Montessori program at the George Washington School. When we were looking for a place to move from Brooklyn 4 years ago, GW was a huge factor in us choosing Kingston. Now we love this town for endless reasons, but GW was a concrete drawing factor. We skipped this so long. GW's placing paramount importance on kindness is also a dream of mine as a parent, for my children to be taught this at school and of course at home. Hearing that transfers may end after accepting all requests for so many years in the moment that I would love to send my son Gustav to go to kindergarten is disheartening, to say the least. I honestly don't know where else send Gustav if the program, if he is not accepted. We as parents are all here to let you know, it's a group of us, that the Montessori program is a must for our children. We think you have a good problem on your hands. You have a group of parents so passionate about a Montessori program that will get friends to watch our kids. We can go to board meetings and we'll walk all over town having residents sign petitions. And most of all, we will talk to you at any time about what we believe to make GW a unique, fantastic school. We know you have the space in GW and that what it would take is for you to have to hire new teachers. I'm no expert, but couldn't our school tax dollars that we pay be rethought of it? Maybe GW needs a bit more based on popular demand. All in all, we're certain that you will do the absolute best you can to ensure that our kids can thrive within the Montessori curriculum, like so many kids already. Bravo to you for helping create a truly impressive program. GW cannot be compared to Edson nor Chambers because there's only one with a Montessori philosophy. The biggest reason I believe the transfer request should continue to be honored is that all kids in Kingston should be entitled to an alternative education if that's what speaks to the family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Christina Picard, next.
Good evening. As active parents in the Kingston community and as taxpayers to the Kingston School District and not to one individual school, my husband and I, and a large group of us tonight, implore you to continue to allow transfers to elementary schools like George Washington. We believe that it's in the interest of the Kingston School District as well as to individual Kingston families to give parents the option to apply for a transfer to a school they feel is most aligned to their values. I know many families who move to Kingston solely because of the public Montessori program it offers, believing, as we do, that children should be given some freedom to learn at their own pace and not to be boxed into one regimented learning style. And I know other parents who are lifelong Kingston residents who believe that the Montessori at GW to be one of the city's greatest assets. To allow parents the option to send children to the school they feel is right for their child not only creates better students, it creates better parents, who are more active in the school and more willing to donate their time and energy to make the school, and therefore the district, better for all children. If transfers are eliminated, Kingston schools will lose those community-minded families, and we believe this would be a grave mistake. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Next on the list is Andrea Lynn.
Hi, good evening. My name is Andrea Lynn. I live in Kingston with my husband, and we have a 5-year-old son that will be entering kindergarten this September. I'm here tonight to express our concern regarding the possibility of ending transfers to George Washington. We think that if a Montessori-based education is available to some children who live in the Kingston School District, that it should be available to all children who live in the Kingston School District. If it is available to just some children, for example, just those that happen to live in the zone for George Washington, and not all children, and that is not equal rights for all children. As for us personally, we happen to live outside the zone for George Washington, but wish to have our son attend that school. There are 2 primary reasons for this that are equally important to us. One is that we think a Montessori-based education is very helpful for children's learning and development, and we want our son to experience that. Second is that we wish to support the public school system in general, as opposed to having our son attend a private school. Our desire to have our son receive a Montessori-based education within the public school system is strong enough that we are willing to provide transportation for him to go to George Washington, which is, would be the case. We have heard that in the past that all requested transfers to George Washington have been accepted by the school district. So I'm wondering if there is, if it is being considered to end that, and end having transfers to George Washington, I'm wondering what the rationale and justification is for that at this point.
Thank you, Mrs. Lynn. Would you like to leave? Do you have something typed up you'd like to leave with us?
No, but I'd like to send it in the mail
Sure.
if possible.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is it time up?
Yeah, that was the signal.
Thank
Thank you. Speaker Anna Banasek. Is that correct pronunciation?
Good evening. I am here to talk about E.R. Crosby Elementary School. Recently, I was told that there's going to be 2 sections coming up for the 4th grade instead of 3 sections. That's my daughter's class. 4 years ago, it happened the same thing. My son was in the 4th grade, and you decided to make 2 sections for the 4th grade. There's almost 30 children in the class, and it happened only for 1 year. E.R. Crosby did it again. My child, my oldest, so he ended up going there. He was fine. He is an excellent student. He's doing very well in middle school. There are many children that struggle academically and affected them. 4th grade is the time they are preparing to go to middle school, and I think they should have 3 sections for those children to be prepared right away to attend middle school. Now, my daughter, the same way, 4th grade, starting in September, the same problem. 3 sections going down to 2 sections. I am very upset because she was attended integrated class. Many children who struggle with math and English, and those children are going to struggle even more, are not going to be prepared very well to go to middle school because those class sizes will be big again. Thank you.
Philip, were you?
Go. I live here in Kingston. My son was in high school during the days of forced Ritalin, which has become the footings of the opiate addiction. I'm here about boredom in school, about lunch after lunch, or our pupils, students, are falling asleep. And now you're going to be starting a full-day preschool. When are we going to get rid of the GMO foods in our schools? 1948, the Pentagon took over all school nutrition in this country. When are we going to introduce organic foods? And is there anyone on this board that even has any concept of what organic foods are about? Thank you.
Next speaker, Angel Rivera Williamson.
Good evening. I have a 2nd grade student at E.R. Crosby Elementary School, and I guess I'm here just to follow up on what she had said. I was told that the 3 sections of 2nd grade are going down to 2 sections for 3rd grade next year. Now, my daughter is an excellent student, as you can see. I don't know if many of you know that she's even in the room, and she's been here since the beginning. She's good. 0 behavior issues, academically, she's exactly where she should be or exceeding. My concern is she's in a classroom this year with 15 students. Next year, from what we're being told, at present, she'll be with 27. I understand that there is an integrated class that will have a teacher, a teacher's assistant, and a resource teacher. The other teacher, however, just has herself. So my concern is, while my daughter will be there ready to learn, this teacher has to teach and police these 26 other children. And I'm just wondering, why is that? It is, you know, I've put 2 other children through Crosby School. We've always had 3 sections at least for each grade level. So my question was, what is the reason why all of a sudden it's down to 2 sections? And can that other teacher maybe get a teacher's assistant to kind of help her out? Because one set of eyes watching 27 children, you know, for me, just doesn't work. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have to apologize, Eric. I think you skipped somebody, Chris Bradley. Sorry.
Thanks. I'm here with the contingency about transfers to GW and maintaining them. Having children gives you a very myopic view, as anyone the parent here knows. There are songs, foods, TV shows that I never, 5 years ago, would imagine I knew about. And now, as a man in Belgium that I support because I listen to this Wonder Woman song so frequently, maybe 20 times a day. In that myopic view, though, I do see a coming baby boom in Kingston. Everyone I know and meet has at least 1 or 2 children between the ages of 5 and newborn. So what I'm asking is, in that, when you look to dedicate resources, physical spaces, and money, if you would consider, please, that there is a demand for continuing to allow every children who would like to attend Montessori at GW, that you do dedicate those physical resources, those financial resources. There's a fear in the community that because there's been a lack of transparency in the replacement of a principal and several teachers who seem to be retired, at least what's felt as the lack of transparency, that there may be a death by attrition to the program as a whole. And we are very much fear that because many of us chose Kingston because we love the community and wanted to attend the public schools here. And GW being a big factor in choosing Kingston as our place to send our kids in public schools. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, that ends our list. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board at this point in time? Please come forward and identify yourself.
My name is Kristen Denny. So my name is Kristen Denny. I also have a child that goes to ER Crosby and she's in 2nd grade. She'll be going into 3rd grade. So I also have a concern with 3 classes going down to 2. My daughter is very smart. She's well above her grade level, but there are other children who are not on that same level. She took it upon herself to aid a child in her own class who was struggling to pass class, and he's now a better student because she took it upon herself to help him. But with 27 or 30 kids in one classroom, one teacher can't teach all those kids. My son has a 504, and when he was in Crosby, it was minimally followed. And those kids who have a 504 deserve to have them followed. They're there for a reason. They have educational needs, and that's why they're there. And students who have 504s and IEP, the school district gets extra funding for students who have those, and they need to be followed, because that's why they're there. And with 30 kids in a classroom, you can't follow 504, because his 504 wasn't getting followed with 17 people in the classroom. So 3 classrooms down to 2, it's not okay. That's it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? Okay. And we'll move along to the approval of minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of May 22nd, 2019.
So moved.
Any amendments or corrections to minutes? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving approving the minutes of May 22nd, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, and I'll turn the floor over to the superintendent for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Okay, we only have two things on the superintendent's report, and the first one, I'm going to go out of order, so I apologize. The first one is, a recognition from the New York State School Boards Association, and this recognition is, I'm going to stand up. It's New York State School Boards Association Leadership Development Opportunities, participation in these, and it's a Board Lifetime Achievement Award, and this is award to Reverend James Childs for his participation in school boards and in the School Board Association. So I'll take two. I do just want to comment to the board and to the people that are here. We have been doing this, I've been doing this for 15 years, and I've never given out so many School Boards Association awards on so many different levels to school board members for their participation in workshops and other things that the school boards puts on to help educate you and make you better school board members. And I will say that's the first lifetime achievement one I think I've given out. I'm sorry, sure got one too. So like I said, I think it's important that people know that the board really puts their time into learn to do their job here, and you get such high pay. So thank you. Next on the school board, next on the superintendent's report, we're going to have our Mahar and Second Century report. So I think they're out there somewhere. Oh, there they are.
Warming up. Thank you again for having us tonight. We're going to give a quick update on the Mahar School project and the main Phase 2 Second Century project. With main Phase 2, we are currently active on the field turf outside of the field house and the Salisbury East Addition. Work's been progressing great, and even in the midst of all the rain we've had this spring. Fencing's being installed, concrete curbing's in place, all the underdrain drainages has been installed. Beginning of July, we should see the turf field actually being installed, more than likely probably toward the end of next week. So I think our next board meeting is sometime right after the 4th of July, maybe the 10th, thereabouts. We'll have some photos of the turf field in place or being complete at that time. It's going along real well. For the rest of the work in the high school in Maine, we'll be continuing with coordinating drawings, verifying field conditions, submittals to allow us to have materials reviewed and approved by Case Q and Al Soto and his team, and just preparing for the upcoming summer work. We'll begin really July 1st there, segregating work areas between the phases, doing abatement, demolition, removals, and again, just hitting the ground running. We have a couple key areas we're working on, which will be the boiler room and the fire pump room, various mechanical upgrades, electrical in the electrical room. And we're going to be taking over really the ground floor of Maine and the east half of the first and second floors. With that, I just want to graphically show it, I won't spend too much time on the details. That's the ground floor of Maine, except for a few segregated areas. We're taking over the whole spot. Work. Going up to the first floor, taking over that side of the building. And the second floor is almost in parallel. The work again commenced this summer and be completing toward the spring, late spring of 2020, and then we'll finish the rest of the building. A couple aerial views from the East Salzman, the turf fields, fence posts being installed, stone material, they're fine grading with bulldozers. Close-up shot of the fence being installed, it's not connected yet, we have the mesh in place. Some views, some site views along the way. That was a fabric that was being installed prior. Before I go to Mahar, any questions on main phase 2 at the moment?
Go back to the basement level.
We'll head up just for you, Jim. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carly. Yes.
So, I mean, this has been a long project. It's really exciting to see it come through and to see the new high school. Can you talk a little bit about where we are in terms of timing and budget compared to where we thought we'd be at this stage?
Budget-wise, we're in great shape. I think the bids that we took for main phase 2, well, let me drop back a step. Main phase 1, we bid at a great time. Cost control was in check. We were below the budget, below the referendum amounts. Able to incorporate some things into main phase 2 that were already going to be in there, but we're fine-tuning those documents. Took the bid for main phase 2, they came in a little bit below budget, so we'll continue to have a surplus in that regards. We continue down the path and have your normal anticipated things you didn't expect to find there. I think there'll still be, the outcome will be good. We won't exceed the referendum amount. There'll be some funds left over. But we're a couple years down the road, still we're in great shape for that. Time-wise, yeah, I think there was a component back in the day with the state that mandated some things. But we're finishing this in summer of 2021. Anyone else? Carly?
Good evening, everybody. I have a lot of updates from Mahar. But first, I'd like to thank everybody who came over last week and got a chance to walk through the building. The board is officially complete. Contractors are working on their punch list items that were just distributed to them at the end of May. They're working on wrapping up some finished items. Maybe there's a little bit of base missing here and there, some door hardware. They're sending in their closeout documents, which are required for their official project completion, and that nobody gets their final payment until all of the proper documents are sent in. CSARCH is working on putting together the final substantial completion forms that need to be signed off, and then they'll go forward and sign the final completion forms once all the open items are now complete. This is a picture of the carpet that was completed at the reading area in the pre-K side of the building. The railings were painted and the new carpet was put down. This is the window framing on the north side of the building. That's now complete. The front entrance that will be used when the buses come in for the pre-K. Once they get off, the pre-K students will use this door. Some more photos of window framing up close. The completed walkway cover and handrails underneath going into the pre-K area. And as everybody saw last week, this will be the new door into the district office side. There's a lot of window framing on here. Not that exciting. Window shades. The interior and exterior view of the tax office. And the second floor conference room. Does anybody have any questions on anything I saw last week or from today? Yes.
Now I'm confused because I thought the preschool was going to be using the back entrance.
There's two entrances. So the front will have a bus turnaround or a bus loop to drop them off, but there's also an entrance in the back to the actual pre-K office. But from
So who's dropping them off, their parents?
Yeah, we're trying to separate the buses from the parents because it gets a little confusing when everybody drops off at the same time. So the parents will have their own turnaround and drop off and people there, and the buses will have somebody supporting them with their bus drop off.
Go back to the picture of the entrance where the other one. How is that handicap accessible? I'm assuming that might have some handicapped kids in our.
They go in the back, we are ground level at the back of the building.
So why wouldn't we have all children enter through the same entrance?
And it's actually a traffic thing, it's not a child thing, it's just a safety thing.
I'm more concerned about parents who are going to be dropping kids, having been a teacher in a building where this happened. I'm more concerned about the fact that we're going to have buses and parents, little buses, to drop off handicapped kids at the same place that we're going to have parents driving and buses driving and handicapped children. All children should go through the same entrance in a building.
And actually, there's only one entrance and an exit.
That's correct. So the traffic pattern was done by traffic
Was done
consultants.
by our site consultant. So we split it up so that there's two entrances. Yes, if there is a need for a handicap bus drop-off, they would go around to the back where the parent drop-off is, and that would still work in the traffic flow. But we set it up this way because the bus queuing would not fit in the back of the school where the other entrance is. There's not enough space to have more than 2 buses line up. There's space to have 4 buses line up in the front.
So why don't we have a ramp here to go up into that door? Kids should all be entering the same.
Well, they can, right? So all kids can go in the back entrance, which is an ADA entrance, it's ground level. The front entrance, it was prohibitive because for every foot of rise, you need 12 feet of ramp. So if you look to the side here, this distance from there to that front door is about 17 feet. That ramp would go back and forth probably 17 times. It would take all of that out, plus there's a lower door down here.
With an elevator.
With an elevator that they could enter through the kitchen area, take the elevator up to that level. So if we had to accommodate that at the front, we could. But the assumption in my mind would be that we would prepare for that, we would know that student would be coming, and that we would accommodate them at the ADA entrance in the back. These students this door is actually to both spaces. It goes to the pre-K and to the office space. So all the kids are going to the back anyway. So and again, it's a traffic issue. We're not supposed to commingle the buses and the parents, number one. And all buses that are stopped have to stop together and start together. So we needed more lineup space, and that's why the buses are in the front.
Yes, so when you're having the buses in the front, you're going to have parents lining up in the street then, because there's only...
No, the parents would go around to the back, and they have their own...
I understand, but if the buses are letting kids off, they can't go past.
Can I make a suggestion? Can we create a visual for this and maybe bring it next time? Because we're all sitting here having this conceptual conversation. Maybe if we could see it,
Yes, I can create a visual.
it would make more sense to people.
Yes.
You can get any wheelchair bound kid in there in the cafeteria door.
But I think maybe a nice visual would maybe give us a better idea than trying to think it. Okay.
One question, the little roadway down to Stanley Street, is that going to be?
The road that goes past the old field?
Yeah.
Yes. That's all it will be maintained. It used to have the playground down there. We're not putting, it's a long way for preschoolers. We're putting a small playground behind the building, and that field is just going to be left as a field. It will be maintained, and that street will be open. We'll keep it maintained. But even emergency vehicles won't go through it. They'll be coming up Pond Creek.
No, but I was just thinking of accident. We looked at that.
We looked at
did
it.
look at that.
Yeah.
There's not enough curb frontage.
This was a thoughtful process, and every school, we spent a lot of time at Miller and put all new curbing in, and it works well, but there's more parents dropping kids off and less people on the bus, and so it carries a little bit of traffic at the end of the day.
This was the entrance when students were coming, so
Always.
this is traditionally the student.
This is always where the bus is dropped off, always. In this building.
Are there any other questions?
So when does the district start moving in?
So we received CO last Friday, and so we're able to move in now. We're still developing a plan for moving. We're not going to move a wholesale move in a weekend. It's going to take some effort to do it. I'm getting manpower together right now, and I'm putting a schedule together. We've come up with a tentative plan of what departments are going to move at what time, and we'll be moving over the summer, probably into the fall.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
great night.
Okay, I have one other thing on, I guess, superintendent's report. We could put it in a lot of different places than the board. So I'd like to bring this to the board. And as many people in this room know, we have one of our administrators and principals is leaving us this year, and that is our high school principal, Mr. Kirk Reinhardt. And the board and the central administration would like to express their gratitude for his work, for his leadership, and for the great things that he's done at Kingston High School. I think Kirk's been a teacher here. He was a central office administrator here with us when we got rid of him and sent him to the high school, where we knew he was going to be the perfect candidate, and he was the perfect candidate, so perfect that Sawyer's decided that they would make him their superintendent. So we thank you, Ms. Reinhardt, for all the hard work that you've done, for the extremely short emails. Emails to Mr. Reinhardt would be, what's happening at Kingston High School today? Is this okay? Yes, that's the answer. As you respond, okay? All right. So again, you'll only be right up the street, but we'll miss having you here, and we would like to give you this little token of our gratitude. Feel free to say a few words if you'd like to.
I'll be brief. First of all, I want to thank the Board of Education for all their support the last 7 years. I'm sure some of the ideas that I had, you received emails and phone calls, so I really want to thank all of you. Superintendent can't get mad at me, so I'm allowed to thank him. I was thinking, I've been obviously doing a lot of things in the last couple of weeks about a lot of things that have happened in my life, and it was right after my father passed that I got a phone call from Mary Stephanie saying the new superintendent wants to meet with you and discuss the MST position. So I was like, I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if it was an interview. So I came in, and first time I met Dr. Padalino, he had a polo shirt in tan khakis, and it was more of a conversation. So I kind of had the feeling that it was maybe just one of those formalities. It was going to be a pretend interview, and I was going to go back to teaching. And one of the last questions, and I wasn't sure if it was a trick question or not, the superintendent asked me, and I kind of took it as, am I a yes man? So I kind of assumed I didn't have the job, and my answer was, if you ask me a question, it was something like, if I asked you a question, you had to ask it honestly. And I said, Dr. Padalino, you have my word that if you ever ask me a question, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm thinking. So I assumed I wasn't going to get the job. He called me a couple days later, and that kind of showed his leadership, that he wanted people who worked for him to kind of tell him if they saw there was a problem or saw there's something could fix. So he gave me the MST job, and that was kind of my break. 5 years ago, when I applied for the high school principal job, I wasn't sure. I mean, if you looked at my resume, I had no experience. I had never been a high school principal, I had never been an AP, I had never been a VP, and the superintendent gave me a chance. And I owe a lot to him, and I owe a lot to what I'm doing next because of his faith in me. He did make the mistake of telling me I could call him 24/7, which over the last 5 years I have. I've called him 11 o'clock at night. We both, for some reason, exercise at 5 o'clock in the morning, so we've answered each other's texts at 4:30. But I really want to thank the community. I mean, what we have done in the last 5 years at the high school is because of everybody. We have changed the way we do business. If you look at our graduation rate for our subgroups, for our students of color, our special ed students, people around the state, sometimes when you're in it, you don't realize how great you are. When I go places and talk to people and I tell them that, we have graduation rates of 70% for special ed, and our African American male graduation rate was 38%, and now it's pushing 80%. People they can't believe that. not me. We have a great school, we have a great community, we have a great staff. But it just tells what can be done when everybody on the boat is rowing the same way. You know, where you can be in our high school tonight. You know, I was a little bit late tonight. We have teachers that volunteered to stay till 7 o'clock tonight. We have students that are still finishing up final exams and double time and everything like that. You know, teachers and staff and community members that deliver food, because some of our students don't get dinner. So once again, I just want to thank the board for having your support and giving me this position, and obviously Dr. Paolino for his faith in me. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the superintendent's report tonight.
I'm very glad that Mr. Reinhardt.
I'm staying in Ulster County. That concludes the superintendent.
Thank you very much. All right, we're moving along to the consent agenda. Are there any resolutions any trustee would like pulled from the consent agenda? I'll entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of accepting the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Great, and Mr. Lamb, would you please go through the donations for us? Thank you.
First donation, we gratefully accept the grant for J. Watson Valley Middle School of $1,000 from the Connect Kids Field Trip Grant. Second, we gratefully accept the grant for George Washington Elementary School from Teaching the Hudson Valley, $3,480. And last, we gratefully accept a donation for the Kingston High School Athletic Department, generous donation of tennis equipment, 2 portable nets, 10 25-inch rackets, and 24 green dot balls from the USTA Eastern.
Thank you very much, and thank you, very generous community. And that brings us to the Board of Education section and committee reports. And first up this evening is facilities, and I think we've already had facilities report. I like how this is working out. Well, we have facilities report too. We have a report from the architects and the construction firm. But the facilities committee met for the last time, last Wednesday, and we had some additional concerns that were registered by a few of the committee members. It was a very brief meeting because we were waiting to go on the tour. So we then commenced the tour 15 minutes after the facilities committee convened. They adjourned so that we could take the full tour of the facility. But I think you could see that things are moving along at the heart, certainly at the high school. And I have to commend Mr. Clapper and his maintenance crew. They've done a wonderful job of addressing all the things that they can address with their budget. And thank you very much. And then we'll move on to the policy committee. And who's giving a report for the policy committee? You going to do a duet?
The policy committee met on Friday, June 7th. We were quite busy, got a lot accomplished. We have on this evening's agenda 3 first readings of policies that we discussed and vetted. One is policy 0100, equal opportunity. The other one is policy 5280, intramural and interscholastic athletics. I think I alluded to that last meeting, that that was really established to address shadowing and mergers with private schools. And then one that really had a wide scope of people involved in it, policy 5400, the wellness policy. And I'm thankful to our community members. We had some representatives from the city giving us input on that. Ms. Jordan worked on that, really trying to put in some new language regarding mental health and social emotional health. So those 3 are on there for first readings this evening.
Resolution about Jefferson.
Oh, do we pass it though, since we voted on it?
We haven't voted.
We didn't vote, I'm sorry. We have a resolution on here this evening, which is BOE 73 for a Jefferson Code Amendment Policy 5305, which says that the Jefferson Committee has met 2 times. This is really just to align what the Jefferson Committee wanted with our code of conduct. The input is in, the changes are there in the resolution itself. We've had the required public hearings, so we're voting on that resolution this evening.
So I'll entertain a motion. Do you want to move that?
Yeah, I'll move it.
Okay. And give me a second.
Thank you.
Okay. Any discussion about that? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? And we'll move on to the Audit and Finance Committee, and reporting tonight will be Mrs. Lau and Mr. Michael. Is absent this evening?
Okay, we met yesterday, Tuesday, the 18th. I ran the meeting in absence of Chairman Mr. Michaels. I would like to move 2 resolutions, BOE 80, and BOE 81.
Together? Good.
Together, yes. Claims auditor's report and treasurer's report.
Need a second? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
She's still here? Yeah, so, looked at the school lunch fund. Revenue and appropriation report. It looked like there was a several $100,000 surplus as of now. What has to come out of that now?
Out of the school lunch fund? We do a transfer out of indirect costs, which are like electricity, cleaning and such. We have some people who are working for the school lunch fund that we have just this year run against Ed's account, so they're going against his account all the time, so those will be coming out. And then there's probably a certain number of invoices and such that have to come out as well.
So those transfers will happen when?
By June 30th. And so we're kind of projecting that Ed's going to be close to 0 this year. You know, we don't know exactly where he'll be, but he'll be closer to 0 than he's been recently. But there's still a healthy fund balance behind him, so.
Thank you. Does that answer your question? All right, we're moving along to old business. Is there any old business any trustee would like to raise? Mrs. Jordan.
I was just wondering how the registration was going for the pre-K.
Got it. That is a great question.
Why, thank you.
It's almost like I asked you to ask it.
But you did.
Even better.
We're full. All 4 classrooms are full. We are. So I have a breakdown of our students, and I will send it around to the board. But I think one of the really interesting things, I'll say, just generally speaking, we are hitting our targets. We are serving the students we want to serve. But just a quick interesting thing. Again, I'll send you the detailed data to the board. But we have 1, 7 languages being spoken in this program. 2 students who speak Arabic, 6 who speak full Spanish, 5 who are Spanish, English, kind of that, so 11 really Spanish speaking, 1 who speaks Quechua, 1 Urdu, 1 Bengali, and 1 Punjabi. So we have, we've created the racial, the ethnic, the socioeconomical diversity that we want for this program, and we're serving the students that we want to serve. So we're excited about that.
Could you give us a breakdown of the ratio?
Yeah, that's the one piece that we have. It's a little bit crazy, but I'll give you the best I have it right now. So we have, right now it's 30 white students. We have 9, 8, 15, 17, 20, 17 students who are 18 black students, 3 multiracial students, 7 students who are who identify as white Hispanic, and then we have 12 students that identify as Hispanic. So we're at 72, 43, and 30.
And what about the staff?
How many staff members we have?
How many
Actually, I don't have exactly who our staff are just yet, but go for it.
We're board appointed, board appointed tonight. We have one of our staff members who is African American. She was an A&L teacher. We recruited her for this program, and she will be teaching in the pre-K. We have another candidate that we're ready to put forward to the board on July 10th. That candidate is also bilingual and Latino, and then our other 2 teachers are Caucasian.
And do we have 2 English Spanish teachers for bilingual class?
Right now, it looks like we are. Go ahead, Dr. Felsell, go ahead and answer.
Sorry. No, yes, we have the staffing for the 2 dual language classrooms at Mahar. We have the numbers we were looking for. They're slightly lower than we anticipated in terms of Spanish to English ratio, but we still have 6 and 6 in each of the dual language classrooms. We also have begun implementing staffing for follow-up in our elementary plan to continue this. So we have identified staff.
So, where do you put the students who are not Spanish or English? What do you do with those students?
Well, we have 2 traditional classrooms, so it'll really depend on where we're in the process of speaking with the parents to ensure that they truly understand the dual language program, what it is and what the design is, and that they want their students in those classrooms. So that's kind of the point where we are now. We're surveying parents to see who's interested in a traditional setting, and those students will go into the other 2 classrooms, and who's interested in a dual language.
So we don't know if they speak any English, or do they speak English at all, or no?
But we have 5 students, 6 that speak only Spanish, and we have 5 that speak, are bilingual at 4, not fully.
Oh, like the Arabic, they speak English also?
No, so they'll be ENL students, but we don't have to service ENL students at the preschool level. The benefit of that class is they'll be completely immersed in the English language, and by the time they get to kindergarten, they should test higher on the NYSA slot because they'll have been in a program where they're getting that academic language and that learning experience.
Well, I really would like to thank Dr. Felsell, because what she did, which I really appreciated a lot, is that on her own time, she went out and knocked at doors to get people that we wanted to get into this program. And even though we didn't get a lot of people signing up when we did that, I just think the effort that went was very impressive. I want to thank you.
And we have an administrator, not a full-time principal, that an administrator will be.
Yeah, we have about 20 of us in there.
But
yes, Janet Conte is responsible for the day-to-day operation of the pre-K program. But again, at Mahar, there's plenty of us going to be around to make sure that we're there to help.
I imagine one of you will be in the pit
no matter.
Always reading. Mr. Olson will be in.
Mr. Spicer might.
There's already a sign, no Mr. Spicer.
Yes,
This is not about Mahar, but just as an extension, I just am hoping, and we briefly discussed it, that we're going to have more ENL teachers generally, because the population is burgeoning, and I just hope that there's some way that we are soliciting from far and wide, so that we have a full complement of ENL teachers.
Anybody else?
Do we need to pass something from the board and to do that?
Well, no, we need more money. That's what we need. We've had, a couple parents come and talk about class sizes and those kind of things. Well, while our ENL population is, just exploding, we are required by mandate to provide certain things to those students. Then we're required to provide mandates to those students, and that affects, the ripple affects the entire pond at this point. So, in the past, we may be looking at things and saying, oh, we have a classroom of 27, let's start another section. I think one parent said 15. I mean, we closed schools for having sections of 15 6 years ago. So they look at 27, we may have been able to find a way to make some maneuvering and make that class 23 or whatever we could do. Now that money's spent. It's spent on the 37 SIFE students that walked through the door in the last 8 weeks that require immediate and intense interventions. So it's going to become, and we're going to we do this all the time. This is not something new to us. This is a different issue, but we always look at this crisis after crisis and finding ways to take the pie that we have, which isn't getting any bigger, and cut it in different ways. And I charge the administrators. I always say to them, don't tell me what you need to, tell me what you're going to give up, kind of thing. But sometimes when we have mandates, there's things we can't give up. It's our job to spend that time thinking, okay, what gives? Whose sacred cow gets gored on this, because we have to do this. So that's the day-to-day conversation and struggle around how we provide for our L's, how do we keep our fourth grades at 22, 23, 24. I mean, we've made the commitment to K through 2 being 22 and fewer, and we've done that. But that there's a price to that as well, especially when you add things like the growing ELL population. So we're working on everything, but it is a struggle.
But that's also the juggle. I mean, we don't know what our population will look like exactly, because yet we have kids who register through August, through September.
We also
So
have,
that's a little bit of we're not really sure how that's all going to play out yet.
and this time of year is hysteria is common. About a lot of things, it takes us, we usually, even working with the Kingston Teachers Federation, and we wait 30 days into the next school year before we really, giving us the opportunity to shake things out, see what class sizes really look like. We either have students that come in, far too late and they never registered, or students who register and don't come to school, or students who moved during the summer to a different building and we didn't really know it. So class sizes on June 19th. And class sizes on September 5th, it's hard for us to really predict. We do our best.
I'm just wondering too, again, if we can recommit to perhaps filling some of our teaching assistants with people who are bilingual as well, because that is a very close connection to the students and might help if we can't find our, people.
Yeah, and Dr. Kelso came to me just Monday and asked for another bilingual family worker, because our bilingual family workers are burning the candle at both ends. These are the struggles they were facing right now.
Thank you.
Reverend Shah.
I don't want to keep talking about pretty much the same thing, but today's students, tomorrow teachers, I went to a few of the events that they've had, and again, on paper it looks like a great program, but I guess my question is, I look at the student that's enrolled, and I talk to a lot of them, and many of them are saying, I'm not interested in education. They may change their mind later, but that don't seem, there are people in the program that are not, who at this point are not headed toward education. But my real question is, have we tried to recruit from that program?
Oh, yeah, actually, I had Dr. Perkins in my office last week, and she has all of our vacancies, all of our postings. Dr. Perkins and, what's Dr. Perkins' husband's name?
John.
John. And John and Ally Fair, who is our local coordinator, regional coordinator here for that. So yeah, Dr. Perkins has all of our vacancies, always gets our postings, so she can hand them out to who she knows. And graduates, recent graduates of their program of school, so.
But we have received nothing?
We've received nothing so far. One of my concerns is the Westchester distance kind of thing. I've spoken to the superintendent at Ellenville also to see, are they doing similar type of thing, but they're really not, she's not tapping into it the way we are. But as far as students who are not interested in being in education, around today's students, as far as teachers, that's one of the, we had one student graduate this year from it, and he wasn't, he's kind of like, I don't really know who I want to teach. I want to coach, and I want to do this, and I want to maybe be an athletic trainer kind of thing, and a lot of the skills that they're working on. So there's two purposes behind today's students, tomorrow's teachers. One is to hopefully, build some future teachers that would then come back. But the other is just to have kids involved in something that is school focused, helps them get into college, helps them, they take SAT prep courses, they have lessons on how to write their college essays. So there's more to it than just, teaching. But also there's some kids who may turn into teachers. A young man who thinks he wants to be a basketball coach, you might find pretty quickly the best way to do that would be to find yourself in an educational setting. So again, down the road, that could serve him. So they don't force the students to say you have to want education. They bring them in and just let them kind of show them what it is and see if it happens organically or it doesn't. So they're not, we have 15 students that will graduate from that program next year. Then we have 9 and 8, I believe, in the 2 cohorts after that.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other old business?
I don't know if it's old or new.
Okay.
But I thought Tom might speak of what's going to happen in other buildings this summer.
I can have Tom report to that in the next meeting.
Yeah,
There's a lot of,
he has a list.
Yeah, he does.
Probably provide it.
I can-
He has a list of what projects are getting done.
I can get that.
Yeah. Yes.
One more kind of old business, because it's something that we have talked about before, even though we thought of it tonight. The conversation about the SROs, and it also makes me think about security guards. And, the SRO issue is something that we had been talking about, and we have looked at the contract, and now there are new rules coming down, and that will open it back up, and we'll look at it again. And of course, ensure that they're following the law as they're supposed to. We had also really talked about focusing on training for our security guards. And that was a priority for us last year. I know we did that, and so I'm hoping that we'll continue to do that again. And maybe that can be part of the board goal that we put together around training for our staff.
Yeah, and we actually have already started. I've been working with Ms. Bondville with another program to work with our security personnel, the same group that worked with our school resource officers out of the CCE program with Lester Strong and Ed Mann, working with, and every other working with some of our students, but it's Peaceful Warrior program, Peaceful Guardian. They made it up, the Peaceful Guardian program. So they'll be working with our security team next year. So we're already planning that work there. So there's another level of training for them.
Can you answer the question about the transfers, special permissions to?
We don't know yet. This is hysteria, again, about what, I have no idea, because we don't even know yet. And special permissions are not guaranteed or are not decided on until the middle of July. And actually, the policy says it's August, but we try to be as soon as possible. We don't have all of our counts yet, so I don't know where that.
There isn't a policy that, you haven't made any kind of decision that we're not going to allow special permission in GW.
No, we have no policy. The policy, if anyone who's read the policy is policy. Nowhere, I know several parents came up and said, oh, the rule used to be anybody who wants to go to GW can go. That's not what it says in the policy, and it's never been the case as far as for the 7 years that I've been here. But we don't know what our special permissions look like overall as a district to say. I mean, I will say there's some schools that are I mean, I think I spoke earlier, I mean, you know, some schools like Chambers, we're taking a really hard look at because that school is, I mean, full. I mean, there's no more rooms. It's not about hiring teachers like some people here said. It's about, there's no more rooms in that building, so we're not getting special provision students in. But we don't have those numbers yet. So wherever that conversation's coming from, it's not accurate.
It's unfortunate that people get frightened. I mean, I really appreciate the parents' desire to support a program, and no matter what school it is. And I think it's unfortunate that it's kind of being ginned up to be something that it's not. And I hope that the parents will understand that the policy just states that there's room, and we don't know if there's room. So there's no, but there's no, it sounded like people had the impression that the district was intentionally stopping transfers to GW, and that's certainly not the case.
The people who come to the board meeting know that they're not getting a back and forth in answers. If people want answers, they should call, they should write emails to the administration, Dr. Fellows, Dr. Falcello, Mr. Verge, or the secondary level, you know, Ms. Bonville, and eventually to myself. Here, there's not a back and forth, and it's just so I'm not sure where the break in, I have this information and here's where I go to get the answer, because this is not where you go to get the answer. You know, so if there is going to be reductions in special permissions to buildings, which there will be, you know, will it be a GW? I don't know, we don't know yet. You know, it's Chambers is tough, Myers is tough, a lot of our schools have, and sometimes there is no special permission in the third grade at Edson, but first through fourth is, you know, first, second, third, or first, second, fourth, we can do it, those kind of things. It depends on a lot of different things. So, yeah, that's where we
And
are.
the same thing is true with class size.
And I know, right, it's, all three of those conversations that we just had go together. So we have one parent saying, well, we should spend our money better doing this for GW, but they're not looking at the fact that we have this huge influx of ELL students who require certain things through mandate that we have to do. Those things cost money too. We have parents complaining that we have spent money on school resource officers, but if they were here 2 weeks ago, we have another parent who was complaining that we didn't have enough resource officers and enough metal detectors. So this is, you know.
We don't have any metal.
Right.
I just want.
Well, yes, we don't have any metal detectors or enough resource officers. So, you know, it's our job to do the best we can to serve our students with the money that we have, the resources that we have. But as far as special permission is concerned, we haven't made any declarations. And if people have questions, the answers are from the district administration, and we'll do our best to tell them, you know, where we are. But again, Mr. Verge makes the final decision on special permission. He does that on July 15th. He does it on July 15th because that's when he feels it's best. We really have around the policy till August.
What I was thinking when the comments were made about the SROs, let's assume that we did get rid of them. We had no SROs in the middle schools and the high school, and we had an incident where someone came in with a weapon. Then we wouldn't have 5 people here, we would have 100 people here wanting to speak about that. You know, it's just.
We had the threat of a possible weapon, and there were far more people here at the podium discussing that. So I mean, I'm not saying either is right or one's right or wrong, but there are people on both sides of that issue. And having the right training for our school resource officers, making sure they're following their job description is our responsibility. But to make unverified claims about people who aren't doing their job, who are lying about other people doing their job, is not okay either.
No, but I think the takeaway is that the training is really important, and making sure people are doing their jobs is important. And it's our responsibility to make sure those things happen. And that has been a priority for us in the last year. And we'll continue to work on the training, because there is an issue with SROs. We need to be careful of that. We need to be aware of it, and so let's train and, you know, do our best to make sure people are appropriately trained.
So I would just like to bring up there was a claim that some people were thinking that we're not going to let special permissions into GW so that we strangle the Montessori program.
I've never heard that. I've never heard any, I hope these people are, you know, will listen to us on the video. But I've never heard any indication that the Montessori program at GW is under any threat at all. And, you know, I certainly wouldn't support it.
It hasn't been under any threat, and the very fact that we evaluated it seemed to upset, you know, make them apprehensive, but we have to evaluate all of our programs. So I don't know where this got started, but
Well,
we have no intention.
it turned out that it was being successful.
And we have no intention of
I've stated publicly,
stopping it.
I stated publicly to the PTO at GW on February 4th or whenever we were there, I said that as long as I'm the superintendent, I will continue to support GW being a Montessori school. Our budgetary allocations support GW being a Montessori school. Our addition of 3-year-olds support, you know, being a Montessori school. I spent time on the Zoom this morning with our Montessori consultant from, she was down in Florida, who we've used for 11 years, to talk to her about the transition and what are the things that we need to do. I've written probably 15 to 20 emails back to parents expressing to them that we are not removing the Montessori philosophy from GW. For whatever reason, the rumors get traction, but the facts and the evidence do not. I don't know, I can't really speak to that, but we, again, publicly here at the school board, I have made no recommendation, nor will I, to change the Montessori philosophy at GW, and we haven't done any, you know, actually I think some of the things we've done over the last year have actually strengthened the program. We're going to move forward, and hopefully people will understand that.
So I sent you an email, you got it, about some questions about universal pre-K.
Yes, I'll get you.
I asked those, so, how many, first of all, how many universal pre-K slots does the district get every year from the state?
It's technically not in slots, it's in dollars that are then broken down as a daily per diem for our UPK providers, that then that's how it's determined how many slots, I guess, you know, we've been saying slots for a long time. You know, so the outside providers, I think it's in the 300 range, right? And they've changed the program a little bit also, so.
They've also changed the funding with the EPK grant and the UPK grant. Now all of those funds are merged into one. So I started drafting your question, but some of the information we're still working with Mrs. Woodard and Alan, Mr. Olson, to really determine exactly how the allocations, what they're going to look like. It's also still, you know, there's just a lot of gray area in terms of that. So to give you that exact breakdown right now, we can't. What we know is, we know how much we have, but we don't know exactly where or how we're dispersing.
Right, and it used to be only half day, now they're allowing outside providers to offer full day, so it reduces the slots but keeps the dollars the same. So there's a lot of different things in there. I know Dr. Felicel sent me her draft for me to look over, and if you just give us another day or so, we'll finish that draft and I'll send it to the entire board.
Okay. So just to answer one question. Sure. We have full day pre-K programs at both George Washington and JFK. Now, I've heard that the JFK is going to move into Mahar. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay. Do either of those programs get UPK money that
Yes.
comes from the state? But the JFK students won't be getting it when they move in.
Yes,
to
they
Mahar.
can continue to.
Is that going to jeopardize our self-funding?
No. Because of the change of the UPK allowing providers to go to full day, which they didn't allow in the past, we're able to commingle those two programs.
Okay. Thank you.
You answered.
Any other new business? Oh, Mrs. Jordan.
It came out of public comment.
Is it new now? Are we new or old?
New.
Thank you.
I thought we were on to noon.
I thought
Are we on to noon?
But I was,
No.
just
Go noon.
making sure.
I wasn't sure, but it came up in public comment, the share table at GW.
I have a written response from Mr. Corelli, and I will share that with the board as well.
Okay, because if there is a way of restoring
Well,
it.
this is, Mr. Corelli was pretty straightforward with names and phone numbers of who at the health department told them that they couldn't do it. And it lines up very completely in line with the federal lunch regulations and how we're required. I mean, we're required to have things at a certain temperature when they serve them. So Mr. Corelli has pretty detailed, response to that issue, so
I wonder if there's
I'll share it.
something else we can do then for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can talk about that.
Yeah, and that's one of the things we discussed with Representative Delgado,
Oh,
easing the federal regulations.
Well, I mean, you don't want to ease the federal, you
Not
don't
about
want to
safety,
milk
but-
sitting on
right.
a share table for, an hour and a half. Certain things you do and don't want to do.
But you would want a child to be able to ask for another meal.
Well, the health department has a lot of power. The county health department. Several years ago, they told us that we couldn't serve lettuce that was grown in a school garden.
Well, and I know Ms. Burnett said that she called, but we know, the head of the health department who we work with, who does the inspections in our schools, we have the words directly from him that we can't do this. But I'll get that answer to it.
But can we get clarification, because there's some things it's obvious. You can't leave some food out that should be refrigerated and whatnot. But there are other things, a banana, apple, a box of cereal, things like that. So to cut out a program totally, because there's a few items that need to be refrigerated and whatnot, and there are kids hungry, that don't seem to make a lot of sense.
Mr. Olson wants to answer that.
That'd be good, Al.
Although not completely. Part of our representative at the health department's concern is not only temperature, which is a big concern of his, but also handling. So, you handle an apple, you decide you don't want it, you put it on the table. Well, did you wash your hands before you handled that apple? Like, what happened? We don't know what happened, and that's one of the reasons why he's saying, you guys probably shouldn't do this, because you don't really know what's being transmitted between person A and B. And, the woman did say, who spoke, that, things were put on the table, and then she said something about, oh no, and then we refrigerate them. Now, I don't know how that was done, or if it was done. We can't have any of our employees then, kind of doing that, because they have their own jobs to do. So I'm not sure, what exactly went on at George Washington, but part of the video again is temperature control, and part of it is handling.
Mr. Lambert.
The same thing happened in my building 2 years ago, and we did everything. We tried to keep fruit, and we tried to say, we had a monitor who was going to wash the fruit and stuff. We were shut down. So
This was in Newburgh.
yes, and it was the Orange County Board of Health, but it was, and we were told that anyone that did it, because the guidance office and the nurse were willing to have refrigerators in their spots so that kids would not be hungry. And we were told if they do it, they are liable, as well as the district.
Thanks. Any other new business? All right, I have one more piece of new business then. All right. I'd like to present an appreciation of Kathleen Collins, Resolution 2019-2018, BOE 83. Whereas Kathleen Collins has been a member of the Board of Education of Kingston City School District for 6 years and will retire from the board at the end of this school year. And whereas Kathleen Collins has worked to strengthen the school district's academic program, character education, and to provide a well-rounded educational experience for all students. And whereas Kathleen Collins, through her volunteerism and board membership, should be recognized for her outstanding contributions to the Kingston City School District and its students, as well as the school community. Therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education of Kingston City School District publicly recognizes Kathleen Collins' 6 years of service on the Board of Education, as well as her commitment, dedication, hard work, and exemplary service for the school district, And be it further resolved that the Board of Education expresses its deep gratitude to Kathleen Collins for her years of distinguished public service and volunteerism and for positively affecting the education of students in the school district, and wishes her good health, happiness, and contentment as she retires from the board.
I will second that motion and ask for unanimous consent.
All those in favor?
Thank you. Can I say something briefly?
Take all night.
No, I'll be brief. I learned from Mr. Reinhardt.
They're making fun of
Mr.
you.
Reinhardt and I started our teaching careers together, you know. I won't say how many years ago at New Paltz High School, and he was actually at my wedding. It'll be 23 years in a couple of weeks. So it's somewhat ironic or fitting that we're making our next moves together. But thank you. It really has been a privilege to serve. You know, you go to the grocery store and people say, "Are you crazy for doing that?" And I think, oh, maybe a little, but you know, we come back every Wednesday. And I'm really very honored to serve with these colleagues. Everybody who sits at this table is so dedicated to public education, to serving the community, to making things better for students and faculty and staff. And that's why we do it. So I feel really confident that it's time for me to step aside and leave this in the competent hands of my colleagues. Dr. Patalino, who is a great visionary leader, his administrative team, who does nothing but support all of us. And I feel like these last 6 years, we've made some very positive moves because we've been cohesive. So that's my wish, is that the cohesion continues, the positivity continues. There's always going to be some dissent, some differing voices. That's the way it is. And I think that we're good listeners, and I hope that you guys will continue to do so. And I'm not really going very far, so I'll still be involved, and I'm around. But thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now we're on to board member announcements. Are there any announcements any board member would like to make at this juncture? All righty. Okay, then on to the second opportunity for public participation.
Don't need the mic. You don't need the mic.
I will not be able to, when I sat on the board in January, I said, can I say something? And Nora said, you're not a member of the public anymore, so you can't make public comment. So I'm a member of the public now, so I can make public comment.
I'm still timing you though.
I wanted to say, I sat in the audience tonight and I am busting. I am busting. When I sat on the board in January and heard the talk about the Mahar kindergarten pre-K program, and it wasn't near completion yet. I was wondering how we were going to get there. And you guys, all committees, budget and finance, facilities, teaching and learning, all worked really hard to make this happen. It was actually beautiful to see it all happen with the leadership of Dr. Patalino and I want to say the hard work of Dr. Felicello. I saw her at the Council of Churches meeting to drum up support. The Bailey swap meet, remember that? The door knocking on the housing project. All of that work, and as I got to know Dr. Felicello because of all these encounters, I was saying, that's leadership, on the ground, totally involved, and I knew because you were involved in all these other areas, you had to be involved in your office to make all the rest of this happen. So I'm just busting, because you did a great job. Everybody was all hands on deck, and I want to also thank Reverend Childs and Lady Childs, who went door knocking. You brought your wife in. It was just a total hands-on effort, and it's a beautiful outcome. I'm just busting. You guys did a great job. I'm very proud. Thank you.
Anyone else? Oh, Mrs. Perry.
I can make public comment now all I want. I
I
But you're
just
still
wanted.
being time.
Yes, you
Pardon?
still being time, she's still time.
Oh, okay, well, I'll have to put my speech, no. I just wanted to thank Kathy for her service. I didn't get to vote on that resolution, but silently I voted. And I think I served with you for 1 year, but I've watched you over the years, and you took over the policy committee. I mean, that is like a crown of jewels. I know, it's the best committee. But you've really done a great job, and I know that as a board member, I appreciated everything you did, and as now just a community member and taxpayer, I continue to appreciate it. I know Jeremy and your kids will be happy. I just today finished cleaning out my board stuff. It took me 5 years. I think my husband will now withdraw his filing for divorce because of clutter from Crown Street. But just lots of luck, and I really hope you do stick around. I'll keep a seat next to you for you. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, Mrs. Nacarata.
I will be very brief because I know you'll want to go home. I just want to, I've been thinking about this for quite a while, and I just need to make this announcement as a parent, not as a teacher or as a union president. But my child is graduating from Kingston High School this year, and I hope you all come to the ceremony. But I really want to acknowledge the senior class and the high school under Mr. Reinhardt and Mr. DeSico and all the rest of the administrators and the staff, because there has been a change in the high school over the last 5 years. It has become a place that is accepting and welcoming. It makes the invisible visible. And my daughter, as you all know, because pretty much everybody in this room knows who I am and has seen Erica with me, is a unique child. And she has had the time of her life at the high school. She has learned, she has grown, she has grown. And not because I'm her parent, probably in spite of that, but the high school is a wonderful place. But this senior class went out of their way to become accepting and inviting, and I think they deserve kudos. So whoever gets to speak about the senior class, please mention that. Also, please mention, you know, how wonderful he was. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, hearing no takers, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing board relations. There will be no action coming out of executive session.
So moved, I gotta do it.
All those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.